Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always. And today we are back with some online lobbies. We've got two races here that I did during the week on a live stream. It was a lot of good fun. I always feel, I said it so many times, I feel there's always so much to learn when you play online. This is really the way I learned how to play Formula 1 games. So we're starting P15 in the multiplayer car. So again, a pretty decent start here on a 5-lap race, but the inevitable always happens.
GG.
You just get completely blown up. But like I say in the world record attempt videos, that I always feel it's a good thing to try and not rage quit, to try and keep yourself in the game, because it really will develop a big patience within you, which is transferable over to league racing, because I know more than anyone, a lot of things can go wrong when you're competing, that things are out of your control.
Is, like, this guy's
and if you just keep on quitting every time something doesn't go well, then your just temperament and your resilience is just not going to develop or improve or anything at all. And I really just see this as a challenge rather than a setback. So I'm going to do my best here now to try and come through the field. We're pretty much almost dead last here. And yeah, this is a good test to test my ability to overtake, my speed, my consistency, and racecraft, which again, I think really does transfer over quite well, because in these lobbies, people are very, very unpredictable. It really does strengthen your reflexes a little bit here. So going past a couple of cars already on this lap here, and just knowing when to be aggressive. So not going to go down the inside, go let these guys have this corner. And the key thing as well, which I think you can really take into league racing, is really just anticipating what your opponent does and just outsmarting them, just being smarter than the drivers you have around you. Because on this game, especially from what I've seen, obviously pace really does help. It does help, of course. If you could get in the qualified pole every time, it makes your life a lot easier. But for me, and I'm very, very happy to say about myself, I feel I definitely have good speed in this game, and certain tracks very, very fast where I can't get poles and stuff. But there are a lot of guys who are equally on the pace.
So he's spamming it.
I think the difference between
this is the thing, people just spam it.
Not great drivers, but really good drivers, but drivers who are consistently getting good points and doing well, winning championships, is that they know when to go for it and when not to go for it, and when to really push the track limits, when to force those overtakes, and really thinking about the long game. That's something I cannot stress enough. Just trying to outsmart your opponent by actually putting yourself in them shoes. And I know this is sounding philosophical or something like that, but this is how I really think when I race. I'm always thinking about what my opponent's going to be doing, how I'm expecting them to react, how much ERS they're probably going to be using. That just, you start to understand that over time, the more you race the same people of how they drive and their driving styles, you really do pick up. You can sense really when they're really going to be attacking or not, and then you can adapt your driving style accordingly to that. So it's kind of hard to explain, but
an easy one.
I just feel that if you can just prepare the strategy so well, you just know every detail you need to do. So on this lap you pit, you know exactly how much wear you've got to the end of the race, or if you use ERS at this portion of the straight, you know how much you can have left towards the end of the race and stuff as well, and just how much power it can give you. Just the little details, and just being consistent with your driving as well, where you are keeping it clean and being fast on track, which is very, very hard to do. A lot of people, I think, sometimes have the mindset of, oh, I'm going to get a penalty anyway, I'm just going to drive as fast as I can for the first stint. And this applies to tyre wear as well, and tyre temperatures, or even the setup of the car, where it's great in quality. I had that myself recently in WOR Abu Dhabi, where it was fairly decent over a lap, but in the race it was just absolutely awful when people just don't practice or don't think of those things, which it makes a huge difference. And I said it before, sometimes when you try these things, sometimes it works where it appears like it's going to be a masterclass. And like here now, I know that going for this move, knowing when to be aggressive as well, he opened the door. I knew I was going to get the DRS from the car ahead. So I'm always just trying to think 1 or 2 steps ahead of everyone else, where I feel there's a lot of drivers who are very, very good, who only just think about in the moment itself. So that's a key thing that I really want people to take away from. Just always try and plan ahead whilst you're doing the races, which is very hard because you're trying to concentrate at the same time, trying not to get warnings, trying to be fast. But right here now, I know in this race, I was near the back of the field, and you can see how much ERS I've been able to save. I've always been trying to save it for the last 2 laps of the race. Because you can see in this scenario, these guys are just spamming their ERS. And since I had so much to use, I was able to defend against them. Now I know I'm going to get the DRS on this guy on the last lap. So I'm not going to be using any of it here. So again, just thinking of the lap ahead, because I want to get the fastest lap for that extra point as well. So this is something I was thinking about 2 or 3 laps before this, rather than on this lap itself. So I think it's a really, really big thing that people don't necessarily think about. And I think maybe that's what comes with experience, I guess, when you've been in so many league races. I've definitely rushed my decisions. I think there was a point on 2019 or 2018 where I was being very aggressive with my overtakes. I wasn't waiting and thinking about the long game. I think that's definitely something throughout this WOR season, finishing top 4 there and then winning TSRL. That's something that has helped me massively, because I haven't made any super rash decisions. I've been quite calculated in how I've overtaken people and taken the races itself. And there's been a lot of people like JKB, Smasher, Felipe, Leopard. There's so many people who are so fast, and I've only had 2 poles in that TSRL season, but managing to pick up 4 or 5 wins, it shows you don't need to be the fastest on the raw speed. It's just about the overall package. So right here now, using all of my ERS once again, just trying to get the move done into here, trying to leave a bit of room, but the contact model is very unforgiving. I tried to give that guy a little bit of room. It's really unfortunate when that happens. Sad to see that, actually, to be honest, because I was hoping he would probably back away, but I'm just going to use the rest of my ERS now. And from coming dead last, we've actually made a pretty good comeback, and the setup and the pace I'm using here was working very, very well. And hopefully you could just see the way I'm driving that I'm just always thinking about, when I'm coming up to a group of drivers, who's got the DRS on whose red light is flashing, how much ERS have I got? If I overtake this guy with this amount of ERS, what kind of position does that guy put me in? That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about all the time. Is we do a 29.0, which is a very, very fast lap. I think that's the PB I've done around here in the 5-lap race. So setup working well, new rig working very well too. Now we move on to Suzuka. So we're starting P14. I think the same place I started last race. So try to get a good start in the same lobby as I was before here. And again, this is another one where knowing when to go for it, when to not. So going into here, not pushing it too hard here. As some cars are going out wide. I almost lose the car, but luckily I get saved by another car. So I've actually still managed to gain a few little positions, trying to go around the outside, trying to go through the middle of this guy and the other guy as well, and we just about stay on the track.
Made it through. Oh my God.
And we're in P11. So again, I was just trying to let people have that corner, but sometimes it's very hard not to be involved as someone that's just in the gravel trap here. So coming into this, trying to get a good exit, I decided to apply the overtake, but then I quickly realised that that's not going to work. Let's see if he goes defensive. I see he doesn't, so I wait a little bit, almost lose it on the exit, but still get some good traction. And again, that's a move that I knew I needed to make because it's lap 1 of the race. There's a big gap ahead, and some guys are now going side by side going into the spoon corner, which is something you usually don't want to do. So coming off this corner,
should be very quick
using the same setup as I used in TSRL Suzuka when I won. So I know it's very, very quick in a straight line. And doing so many of these 5-lap races around Suzuka, I know that the ERS is very, very hard to regenerate. So I'm just trying to be very, very careful of that, as someone was almost doing a missile down the inside. So I can see here, this guy's been compromised. He's not within the 6/10 of the guy ahead, so he's not going to get any slipstream. He's got no DRS. So I decide to use the power here.
That's good. He's very clean.
And I recognise that he turned it off quite early, so I decided to turn off mine early. So that was in a very efficient overtake that I did at this point. Now I'm coming up to Liverpool Ewan. And right here now, keeping it in standard. And again, keeping it in lean and standard is not only just for the traction, because I see a lot of people say, oh, why do you have so much fuel at the end of the race? It's also to actually keep the tyre temps low. So I'm keeping it in lean here, just to keep the tyre temps as cool as possible. So I always get hit by that guy, but luckily just managed to keep it through. Go keep it in lean once again, because the fuel does drain quite quickly around this track in a 5-lapper. So getting a good exit of this corner, and we don't use any overtake because I can see these two guys are battling. There is no point me using the overtake at this stage of the race. So they're going to go side by side. I'm going to try and get a good exit of this corner. Coupe a Benz here, and again, not using any of the overtake because I want to save it for when it really matters. Whereas a lot of people would probably spam it in this scenario, trying to get him into this last chicane, which I probably could have done if I spammed it. But again, you just got to think about it. So I'm just trying to get a really good exit of here. I know I'm not going to be close enough going down into this turn 1. So again, I'm not going to be using it whatsoever. These guys, you can see, are going to be fighting quite hard. So going into this corner, keeping it standard, because I know I've managed to save fuel quite nicely in the lap before. And the whole point of this lap is just to try and be as close as I can whilst using the most minimum ERS as I can. So I'm trying to put him under as much pressure as possible going through this sector 1, which is one of my favourite sectors in Formula 1. Putting up into Rich, then going back down into lean, just to make sure I have the maximum power output from the engine as much as possible. Back into Rich, and then we'll probably go back down to lean once again. So you can see they're all starting to bunch up now. Second gear, third gear, trying to get some good traction, using a bit of the overtake just to make sure we get the move done, and then we're going to turn it off again very, very quickly. So coming off the exit spoon, I'm just going to try and get as good run as possible going through here. As you can see, using almost all of the track 4th gear, then up into 5th gear, trying to get some very, very good traction. And looking behind, I think the guy is going to be using a little bit of the overtake, but then we decide to turn it off. Once I can see he isn't using it, then I try and recognise that straight away and then turn it off. But going into here, I really wanted to get a good line. I can see this guy's going to be a little bit compromised, so I decide to use the overtake button here because I'm going to have the benefit of the DRS. Am I going to be close enough? Yes, I am, because the guy ahead, that guy after Feather, he didn't have the DRS, so I knew that there was a very good chance that we could actually overtake him into that corner following Liverpool Ewan through, which we did very successfully. So now we're into P3 from P14 on the grid. So this is looking like a very good race so far. And at this stage of the race, I'm just thinking I need to really overtake him before the last lap. That was the plan that I was looking to do, or at the very least into turn 1 on the last lap, so I can get Nando's Eater down the back straight on this last lap into 130 yards. So that's what I'm thinking right now. So I'm trying to again save as much of the ERS as possible. I can see he's using a bit of the ERS here, and that's the good thing, because since I saved it so much in the first few laps by being super efficient, there was just no need. No, it puts me in a position where I can use it. So I'm going to use a little bit of the burst here just to make sure I am close, but then I'm going to turn it off, and I can see the red light is flashing, so I know he's going to be very, very vulnerable going down this main straight. So it's crucial that I get a very good exit. So he goes in deep. He's very compromised. I cut the corner slightly. That's my first tracking validation, so I know I can get away with it. Now I'm going to use the ERS and the DRS, and you can see the lack of power. There really is nothing he can do. So we're going to go around the outside, and this is perfectly planned because we have over 45% ERS, and he is on the red flashing light. So going down into 130R, if we get a good exit, it should be a very, very easy pass. So right here, I'm trying to put him underneath as much pressure as I possibly can. I want him to burn it, but he actually goes out very, very wide, and we go into P1, and that has saved us a big job, actually, in fact. So right here, I'm just trying to get as much distance as possible to myself and Ewan, but I know that he has really no ERS to defend with. He has about 30% minimum or maximum ERS less than I do. So I'm going to use a little burst here,
and we go win the
but I know coming off this corner of Spoon, as long as I get a good exit, you will be able to see that Delta is going to go up quite significantly. So let's see what happens. See, it's 3 temps, it's 4 temps. We're going to use all of the power now, and you can just see how much that is going to rise. You can see it's going up very, very quickly now. It's gone up 2 to 3 temps already. Going into this last chicane, just trying to take it nice and cleanly. Trying to get a good exit of this corner. Use the remaining of our battery power. You can see we gained about almost 6 to 7 temps coming off that. And we managed to come P1
that's 10 points,
from P14 on the grid. I really hope you enjoyed that. Again, thank you so much for the support on my channel. I always try and teach something when I do these online lobbies, because I feel these are some of the most important races, which has really helped me develop as a driver. So thank you so much, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.